Okay. Today we're going to start the new chapter. Daf Yomi. We thank Hashem that we're Muslim Torah every day. For learning Shabbat Beis Hamikdash immediately. Learning Nishmas Shabbat Golda Basra Daf Salas Ben Tzion, and therefore Shleima David Ben Sarah, and Gedali Getzel. Okay, just before we start, let's tell you what's going on over here. The laws of inheritance. Who inherits first? There's 27. Yeah, this is coming from the section where the daughters of Tzlafchad say that their father passed away and there's no brothers and they want to get an inheritance in the land. So Moshe brings the case before Hashem. Hashem says to Moshe that they're right. And this is what it says. Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a man dies and he has no sons, shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you should give his inheritance to his brothers. Okay, so if it doesn't go down, then it goes sideways, right? Down means it doesn't go to, then it goes to his brothers. If he has no brothers, then he should give the inheritance to his father's brothers. What happened to the father? Interesting. We'll see. If his father has no brothers, he's given the inheritance to the relative who is closest to him in his father's family. I added in the word father. In his family, who will inherit it. Now, there's one other place where this is discussed. Do you have a source for that?
There's the following 21:15
and 21. Yeah, well, this is interesting. This is when a person has two wives. So over here it says, on the day that the father bequeaths his property to his sons, he will not be able to give to the son of the one whom he loves, birthright precedence over the son of the one he hates. Rather must acknowledge the firstborn son of them who he hates and give him a double share. Okay. Yeah, in case it's it. So the Mishnah starts out.
The reason he dies first is because he had two wives. And the reason my father's not mentioned is because it's automatic. Right?
Okay.
So you said.
So
Rennie's in the house.
Goes like this. Yesh Neichlin Manchilin. There are those people that they inherit their relatives and they also bequeath to their relatives. The word Neichel would mean that they inherit, and Manchel means that they give over. So we're going to use the word inherit and bequeath. So that's one type of relative that would be like a son. The Mishnah will spell it out. There's some people that inherit, but they don't bequeath. See, the Mishnah will spell that out as well. There's some people that only bequeath, but they don't inherit. It's like a mother. And there's some people that they don't inherit and they don't bequeath, even though they're related. Okay. So now we go through the cases. In the following inherit, and they also bequeath. The father can inherit his sons. Now the Gemara is going to ask, what a strange way to start. The father inheriting the sons. Why don't you give me the case? Son inherits the father. That would have been the. Well, that's what we're talking about. When the son dies, so the father inherits the son, and then what would continue from that would be, because it's Neichlin Umanchilin, if the father dies, then the son would inherit the father. But the initial case over here is where the father is inheriting the son that died in his lifetime. It's like the unnatural case. Second case. Case number 2 is only that the sons inherit the father if the father dies. Right? And they inherit the father, and also the father would inherit them. Ha'achin min ha'av, and also brothers. They would inherit each other.
Who takes precedence, the father or the brother?
Very good question. Very good question. Who takes precedence, the father or the brothers? We're going to learn that the father comes first. The brothers inherit via the father.
Is that part of the reason why it came first in the Mishnah?
I'm not sure, but there's 2 details over here in this case that have to be mentioned. The brothers would only inherit each other if there's no children, of course, right? Because the sons always come first. So you have to, like that, you have to add in that little clause. And then there's one other detail, that the father of those 2 brothers isn't alive. Otherwise, the father would have gotten it first.
But it says born of a common father, so that would be the same father, no?
Has to be the same father,
Yeah.
but the father can't be alive for these 2 brothers to inherit, or else the brothers don't inherit, it goes to the father. So who comes first? Would the daughter come before the father? But the brothers always come, the brothers are gonna, no, because the father inherits before the brothers.
There's no father and there's no sons, there's only daughters.
So the daughters are gonna inherit.
Daughters go
They're gonna inherit.
first, father, then sons, and then daughters.
What do you mean, sons? Brothers?
Oh, brothers. Sorry.
Is that how it works? Doesn't seem like that. Seems like first it goes
If
to
you had
the sons. No
if you
sons, it goes to
had,
the daughters.
Wait, if you had a wife,
There's no sons or daughters, it was go to the father.
if you had a wife, you'd go to his wife first.
No, the wife doesn't inherit.
okay. All right,
The
so
answer to your question, half brother, the reason he doesn't get it is because it doesn't go through the mother. Even though they have the same father, right?
Yeah,
Two
the mother,
half-brothers.
the family, the mother's family is not counted in.
Right.
Brothers
That's what I'm
don't
saying. So
inherit.
that's why his half brother doesn't get it. So here's the question: what if his brother was from another mother?
No, I said, it says common father, so it must be the same father.
Right,
Same father, but if it's a different mother, that brother doesn't get it.
right. Yeah, the mother's family doesn't count. Brothers through the mother doesn't count. Okay. We said these are all the cases of Neichlan Oman Chilin, where they each inherit each other. Okay, now we go to cases where it's like a one-way valve, right? It doesn't go back. It goes, Ishasimai, a man, he'll inherit his mother, but his mother won't inherit him. Ishasishtai, a man will inherit his wife, but his wife won't inherit him. And this sounds like children of 2 sisters. That's what it sounds like. Children of 2 sisters. Now, obviously, they're sisters from the same father. And the way it would work would be, it sounds like it's cousins. The reason why I'm saying it sounds is because there is another Gersa here, which will, but just 1 second. So the way it would work would be that if the mother inherits the son, how would the mother inherit the son? No. What happened is the mother would inherit her sister. Mother would inherit her sister. Nea Chayas would have to be that somehow the mother inherited the son, which that doesn't work, right? The mother doesn't inherit the son. And then it would go to her sister, and then it would go to the sister's son.
She can inherit her father, she doesn't have brothers.
This is going to be a case she can inherit her father, but that's not what it says. It says Bnei Achayas. It says Neichlin v'lei manchilin. They inherit, but they don't bequeath. So, but it's the way it's adjusted over here. It's supposed to be b'nei achos, which means sons of sister, sons of his sister or his sisters. Which would mean that, let's say Ruvain, his sister is Dina. Dina has sons. Those children would inherit Ruvain. Right. If there's no one else around. Now, how does that work? How does the Dina inherit Ruvain? It must be through the father, because Ruvain dies. If there's no, you have a chart there. Number 8. You showing me number 8?
Yeah.
Maternal uncle. Yeah, when a man dies and is not survived by his father, children, brothers, or any of their descendants, his estate falls to his sister. If the sister is likewise dead, the estate reverts to her child. In such a case, that child is inheriting the possession of maternal uncle. Okay, now, how does the sister actually inherit? Does it go reverts to her child? Okay. For the line of succession passes through the paternal, not maternal. Okay, fine. Rashbam presents a lengthy analysis of the phrase Bnei Achayes, the sons of the sisters. Rashbam rejects this. Okay, so it's Bnei Achayes is the way the Rashbam wants it to say.
The sister of whom?
Of the brother.
The sister of the brother. So
Thanks,
that means there were no sons and no daughters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so
this is
Ruvain has no sons. He has no father either, but he has a sister, Dina, and Dina has children.
right.
And so those sons, Dina's sons, will inherit Ruvain, but Ruvain won't inherit those sons.
When you say inherit, you mean inherit property from. You're supposed to inherit the person.
Inherit the property from. Okay.
We skip words.
All of these are Neichlen, V'lei Manchilen, all of these inherit, but they don't bequeath. But Isha Spina, we're going to give cases of bequeathing, but not inheriting. So a woman will bequeath to her sons, but Isha Spailan, a woman will bequeath to her husband. The husband will inherit the wife. The sons will inherit the mother. But Achei Ha'aim, and bequeath. It's inherit the opposite way.
So receive
giver
from,
or the
to
receiver?
receive the inheritance from.
Cause to inherit. Right?
You get from someone.
Bequeath means to leave and inherit.
For someone else. So it's the cause someone else. We're translating the word bequeath.
Choose your explanation.
So no, but it's not
No,
to
it's not
receive.
receive.
It's
It's
the
like
giving to receive. Bequeath. Inherit means to receive. So okay, we said ba'achei ha'aim, which is the mother's brothers. Mother's brothers, they can manchilim. They will bequeath, but they won't inherit from the nephew. Right? They can bequeath to the nephew, but they won't inherit from him because it won't go to the mother. It will go to their sister, and then the sister passes away. The sons get it, but the sons pass away. The mother won't inherit. It only goes one way over there.
Usually we say it's better to give than to get because one time it's not.
Right. Va'achin min ha'em. Okay, now we're va'achin min ha'em, brothers from the same mother, but not from the same father. This is loy neichlin v'loy manchilin. They don't bequeath and they don't inherit. They don't. It's not considered family. Okay. The Rashbam pointed out something over here.
They certainly they still have,
Yeah, it's only regarding inheritance that they're not considered relatives. Okay. Shram gives a case where they're brothers from the mother, but they still are related through the father. It was all connected to the tribes. That's the source, was the daughters of Tzlafchad wanted to get the inheritance in the land. Okay, it says like this. Maishna, what's the difference? What's the reason? Why do we start off saying that the father inherits the sons as our first case in the Mishnah? We should have started off saying sons inherit the father. And the reason why we should have done that is we shouldn't start with something negative. And it's negative for the sons to pass away during the father's lifetime. And it's negative, another point, is that it's negative for the sons to pass away without sons. So, then another significant reason why we shouldn't have done this, it's not the way the Torah wrote it. The Torah wrote it that if a man passes away and he doesn't have a son, then it goes to the daughter. But that would mean that the man passes away and it would go to the son. That means we're looking at inheritance going downwards if he would have a son. So why don't we start the way the Torah starts off? The Gemara says, Tana, Aidi da Asya le midrasha chavivale. The fact that it doesn't say clearly that the father inherits the son, so therefore it's a rabbinic analysis of the verses. We get this drasha. It's not a rabbinic law, but it's a drasha it's an interpretation of the Torah. So then the interpretation is more exciting for the author of the Mishnah, so he puts that first. Because if you remember, when we read the verses, it doesn't say that it goes to the father. How did you explain that it goes to the father? You gave a reason why. Oh, so what we're learning now is that it's a drasha. We learn it from a drasha. It's derived from the verse.
Is that an exposition?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not considered a rabbanan. It's a deraisa. My drasha, what is the drasha that tells us that the father inherits the son? It says the Tanya was taught in a brayso. She'era, let's take a look at the pasuk. This is in the middle of Parshas Pinchas, right? Yeah. This is verse 11, actually. It says, if the father has no brothers, ve'ein achim la'aviv. If the father has no brothers, v'nasatem es nachlasai, the she'erei, should give his inheritance to the relative hakarev elav mishpachta, who was closest to him and his family. Isn't that amazing that we're getting this from if the father has no brothers, then it goes to the father. We're learning from the word l'she'erei. Take a look at this. The Tanya she'erei is zeha'av. The relative that we're talking about is the father. Now, we're not saying that if the father has no brothers, it goes to the father, which is what the pasuk says. We're saying that if he doesn't have a son or a daughter, then it goes to the father. But the way it's written in the pasuk means that it goes first to the father's brothers, and then it's going to go to the father, which is strange. How did it get to the brothers without going through the father? And the father would inherit first the father's son.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to say afterwards. We're going to say very important line. Kroish like Sidron Ksivi. That in these verses of the inheritance, it's not written in order. Which is the whole point of this section is to tell us the order, but it's actually not learned in order, right? The whole point of inheritance is who comes first.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Yeah.
What's uncertain?
Okay. So Malamid Shav Kaidem Lachem. This tells me that the father.
By the way, someone who obviously doesn't go by the wouldn't know.
Right. Exactly.
And there's another we get from other places that the father comes first.
We're gonna learn it out. But before we even get to the father's brothers, first in this price we discussed that the father comes before the deceased brothers. In other words, the children would come first. Then there's the deceased brothers, and the father comes before them. So it says Malamid Shav Kaidem Lachem. This tells me that the father comes before the brothers of the deceased. Yachol Yeh Kaidem Leben. Maybe he comes even before the son. It says no. Talmud Laima, the pasuk says Akarev. I think there's an extra karev in there. Maybe Akarev kaidem. The one that's the closest relative comes first. That means the son would come first. Before the son comes first, then comes the father, and then comes the brothers of the son.
Oh,
No, not the brothers.
Brothers of this.
Brothers of the deceased, not the uncles. The Gemara asks, okay, we know that the father inherits from the pasuk she'erei. What was compelling you to say that the sons of the deceased inherit before the father of the deceased, but not the brother of the deceased inheriting before the father of the deceased? What made the father come before the person's brothers? It says, well, in others, we're learning from Hakarev that there's someone that comes before the father, right? So, and we learned who's the one that comes before the father is the son. So it says, Mar bani Yasaben shekin kan tachasav liyada ulustei achuza. I know that the son has priority as a relative over the brothers, right? What do we put some names to this to make it easier? Let's say Reuben passed away, and we're discussing, does Shimon get the inheritance, which is his brother, or does Chanaich get the inheritance, or Yaakov get the inheritance? So we would say first Chanaich gets the inheritance, and then we said that then Yaakov gets the inheritance, and then it would go to Shimon. Right?
Chanaich is the father.
Chanaich is the Reuben's son.
Oh.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get some tribes names and what's Reuben's children? Chanaich, Chetzrin,
Carmi.
Carmi? Something like that. Okay.
This is
So
all
why-
according to whom? Like, what is this, a price?
Yeah, this is a brisa.
Uh-huh.
But the brisa told me that the father comes after the son.
Mhm.
The father comes before the brothers. Maybe should come before the son. It says no. Karav. Okay. So now the son comes first. Now we said, but what's the source that the son comes before the brothers? Why is the son a closer relative than the brothers? So Gemara says the reason why the son is a closer relative to the brothers is because the son has two halachas that the brothers don't have. A relative halachas. First of all, if a father would buy a maidservant, which a Jewish maidservant is always under 12. Once she's 12, she leaves, right? Amma Evriya. So that money that was given for the purchase of that maidservant could be used for the father to marry that girl. It could be his wife. That girl could be his wife. It's called Yiyud. It's actually a mitzvah for him to marry that girl that he bought as a maidservant. So, and he doesn't have to give kedushin. All he has to do is say, Hareyat miyu kudeshesli or miyedesli. You're designated for me, and where's the money? Well, the money I gave to your father already, because that's kedushin money for a young girl would go to the father anyway. It wouldn't go to the girl, right? So the money was given already. So there's a mitzvah here. Now the mitzvah is on the person that purchased and his son. So you see that the Torah gives priority of a relative to the son and not to his brothers. You see, the son is the real relative here. So that's why the son inherits before the brothers. And only afterwards would come the father. Then there's one other halacha over here. And this has to do with if a person consecrates a ancestral inherited property. So if he redeems it, if he himself redeems it, so then it doesn't go to the Kohanim by Yovel. See, if someone else comes along and redeems that property and not the owner, not the original owner of the property, he consecrates it. And someone else comes and redeems it. The original owner doesn't redeem it. Someone else comes and redeems it. So what happens at Yovel? Because that was like a purchased property. Where does it go? It doesn't go to the original owner. It goes to the Kohanim. But if the original owner redeems it, so then it stays with him. Okay. Now, what if his close relative redeems it, like his son? Then it also stays within the family. But if his brother redeems it, then it goes to the Kohanim. His brother's considered an outsider, right? The outsider that redeems, it goes to the Kohanim. So here we have two examples where the son is considered the closer relative than the brother. Mar says, 1 second. Adarabba, on the contrary, Marban Yasach can come tachasachiv liyibam. What about the mitzvah of Yibam? The brother is the closer relative, because if this brother passes away and leaves his wife without no children, then it's not the son that steps in to do the Yibam, it's the brother that steps in to do the Yibam.
That's supposed to be a violation of the Asr for their son to marry the same woman that the father married. Covering the nakedness of
He doesn't have a mitzvah on his to marry his mother, right? Okay. Yeah.
How would it be on this side?
Okay, go on. Explain. Can't be. We're only talking about so 1 second. The Gemara has two options right here. What it can do with this question. One hand, it can say, well, it's 2 against 1. You told me 2 mitzvahs, and now Yibam is only 1. So for sure the son is a stronger relative than the brother. That's one answer the Gemara could give. The other answer the Gemara could give is the following. It says,
if there's a son, it's not a case.
So Dr. Stein and David and the Gemara say the next comment. They say, Klum yesh yibam ela b'makom shein ben, b'makom sheyesh ben ein yibam. No, if there's a son, there is no yibam. Exactly what you were saying. The Gemara says. So yeah, you don't have to come on to that. but there's no Yibam because once there's a son there, so you see the son gets rid of Yibam automatically. We're saying that the priority of the son is the stronger relative than the brother, kicks in right here as well. Okay.
Just from Avram gets concept of inheritance.
Did we learn that?
I'm just saying, like passing it on, like by his brother.
I guess we understood that it goes from father to son, but then in the details of like who comes first afterwards, you're asking like Light wasn't Avram's brother, Light was Avram's nephew. Was it Sarah's brother as well? Sarah's brother, Light? Yeah, so
That's a different case, because that was already there was a predisposition that Hashem made the promise of where he wrote the will, Hashem. He wrote the will, he wrote what's the other paper, trust. He says, Abraham, your stuff is going to your children.
right.
So you can't, none of the stuff with the
Okay. The Gemara says, Taima, what's the reason? What's the reason why you told me that the brothers don't come first? Even though there's Yibam. Because you had those other two reasons. But then when the Kasha of Yibam kicked in, then you said, oh, that's going to be a strong question. Yibam is going to be a strong, so what are we going to do with that? So we answered that when there's a son, there's no Yibam. So the son takes it away. The reason why you got rid of that question was because you said, if there's a son, there's no Yibam. Halav hachi, havamina achadif. But if not for that answer, that you said that if there would be a son, that if there's a son, there's no Yibam, then you would have thought that a brother is going to be stronger because of Yibam. It's anyways 2 against 1. Why do you have to even? It made it look like when you gave that answer as if like, oh, you got a good answer. But the question's not a question anyway, because we have 2 reasons why a son is stronger than the brother. The two is Yiyud, which means he marries the maidservant. The son can marry the maidservant just like the father. And the second is that the ancestral property can go to the son back out of the Kohenim's hands, and it doesn't go to the brother. So we have 2. And yet the question of Yibam, that it goes to that the brother does Yibam, was only 1. So 2 is stronger than 1. My answers, stay achuza gufa mihai taima hu. That how do we get the halacha that a son can buy the property, can redeem the property, and it doesn't go to the Kohanim? We had a whole Gemara. It was that Gemara in Masechtas Erechim that learned it like this. The Gemara asked, who's considered a relative that could buy the property back and it's still considered that it goes to the original owner and not to the Kohanim at Yovel? So it says maybe it's the son, maybe it's the brother. We said it's the son. It says, how do you know it's the son? So we said, well, I see that there's a mitzvah of Yiyud, because the son is a closer relative than the brother, because the son can marry the Jewish maidservant. The Gemara says, yeah, but what about Yibam? The brother can do Yibam and the son can't. So the Gemara says, yeah, but if there's a son, then there's no Yibam. So because of that logic, exactly the template of our Gemara was used in the Gemara Erechim to determine that a son can buy the property and it stays in the family. So where did I get this whole story from is only because of this same discussion. So now I can't use it as 2 against 1 because it was derived from the 1 against 1. And what was the answer that I gave to that? Was that there's no Yibam if there's a son. So now you got in the second one. Now it's 2 against 1. stay achuz gufami high time mahu. The kakaima leilatana klum yeshiv mel makom she'ein ben hayesh ben ein yibam. The Gemara used this same answer to get them. In other words, what the Gemara is saying is that we use this answer to get this first one in there, to get the second one in there, to get the stay achuz in there. Okay. What it's saying is that's the real answer, because even when we had the question the first time, we used this answer. Okay, now the Gemara says, Ema she'era yizeha'av. Let's do that drasha a little differently. We said she'era yizeha'av. Malamed sha'av kaidem labas. Maybe this should tell me that the father comes before the daughter. As we said, when it says that the father is the relative, she'era, that means the father comes before the deceased's brothers. That was what the Brisa said. Maybe it should say differently. Maybe it should say that the father comes before the daughters of the deceased. I know it comes before, it doesn't come before the son. The sons come first, that we said. But maybe instead of the brothers, maybe the brothers should really be first. Son, brothers, and son, brothers, father, and then daughters. Now, why would the father come before the yeah, so 1 second, let me just see. The way we would arrange the psukim now was if a man passes away and he doesn't have a son, so we'll give it to his father. And if his father's not alive, then we'll give it to the brothers. And if there's no brothers, then we'll give it to the daughter. No daughters, then we'll give it to the uncles. So what would just happened is we would do the father. Now we're saying the father comes before the daughters. That's what we would say. Now on this, the Gemara asks, the Brisa says, Yachol yaktim leben. Maybe we should even go before the sons. The father should get before the sons. And the Gemara will give the same answer. That the closer relatives comes first, that the sons come before. The Gemara says no. We don't want to say that the father comes before the daughters. Because when it comes to Yibam, the brother marrying the sister-in-law, right? So we say that if there's a child there, then there's no Yibam. Now, does that have to be a boy or can it also be a girl? So it says, since regarding Yibam, Linyan, it's Beno Baskia Dadinenu, it could be a boy or a girl. There's no Yibam if there's any child, boy or a girl. So then, so then regarding inheritance, it's the sons come first. If there's no sons, then it's the daughters. And then if it's no daughters, then it goes to the father. If the father's not there, then it goes to the brothers. But first it goes down, then it goes up, and then it goes to the sides. And the Gemara gives another option. Maybe what it could have said was, maybe when it said that she'era, that this relative is referring to the father, this comes to teach me that the father comes before his own brothers. He inherits before his brothers inherit. Maybe the father should inherit before the brothers of the deceased, which was not the way we have it, right? Maybe the father we have it that the father does inherit before the brothers, but now the Gemara is saying it as a question. Maybe we should say that the father should inherit before the brothers of the deceased. And Talmud Karav would say no, that the brothers inherit before the father.
So these brothers are his sons.
Yeah. But in the Gemara it doesn't say this, but the Gemara is asking, maybe it should have said this, right? So it says, I don't need to say that the father comes before the father's brothers, his own brothers. Why? Because Achi Ha'av Mikayach Man Ka'asu. How did the father's brothers inherit? Mikayach Ha'av. Through the father, right? Goes to the father. So Koi Av, if the father's alive, Kayarti Achi Av. If the father's alive, his brothers are going to inherit, but the father himself doesn't get it. They're only related through him. So of course he's going to get it.
Like the Ibn answer.
The Gemara says, but if you look at the pasuk, it doesn't say that. This is how we started this today. We said, if you read the pasuk, it says, if the father has no brothers, you should give his inheritance to the relative who is closest to him. When it says word relative, it's referring to the father. If the father has no brothers, then you give it to the father. If you read the pasuk with the drasha, that's what it says, which doesn't fit. So the Gemara says, "Kroish like a sidron ksive." The psukim are not in order. So we're going to need the whole parak to explain these psukim. All right. Okay. Let's leave it over here.
It's just restart.
Okay. Easy fast, everyone. Meaningful fast.
Meaningful.